Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to More on the Road with Bernard Moore the third, presented to you by More and More Sports Management. Nothing but more is what we're all about. It is a blessing to be in the presence and the house of the Lord this lovely day. I'm here at Zion Tribe Missionary Church, 925 West Pearl Street, where I am a member and a participant in a lot of different activities that we have here at Zion Tribe. So if you're definitely looking for a church home, definitely come on by. I will let you know this: if you are become a member here or you visit, whatever you do, you come here, you will be put to work, because that's the mission of our pastor. That you're not just going to be a pew holder or a seat holder. You're going to be a participant in all the different activities that we have going to church. The month is just January, and we're already working on the Dr. Martin Luther King program, get prepared for the Black History program, and then we perform different youth group perform each and every Sunday. So we're always doing something, just praising God and hearing the word. We're doing will. Joining me today, this lovely, beautiful day, it's a good friend of mine. I call him DR. Many call him Pastor Rev, and the other call him Dad, Baby, Honey, all that good stuff. Joining me today is Rev. Michael Just. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Glad to be here with you.
Man, thank you for joining. This is a busy Saturday. Like I said, this is a Saturday. We're out feeding the community right now,
Right.
but you took some time to come speak with me about a lot of stuff that's going on in the community. I really appreciate that.
No problem.
Man, now I'm gonna kick off right off into it. Now I know this
Mhm,
kind of off the subject
mhm,
of what the rest we're trying to go into.
mhm.
What is taking place tomorrow?
Uh,
Around, I want to say, is it 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock? What's the place tomorrow?
3 o'clock. The Commanders will be playing the Eagles, and we'll see how it play out. I'm a Commanders fan, you know that, but I'm Jalen. But uh, I'm Commanders all the way.
Yeah, I had to add it in there. Now, with changing of that name, how did that make you feel? I know there will always be the Washington Redskins, but uh,
Well, of course I'm a true blood, so the original name is always gonna stick with me. But I do understand that some people were may have been offended by it, but so the Commanders is growing on the true fan base.
yeah. But before we definitely get into this show again, we definitely this is More on the Road, presented to you by More and More Sports Management. Want to thank More and More Sports Management for the service that they provide. Uh, assist you with contract negotiation, from contract negotiation to the flower design for your office. So definitely get them a call at 601-260-3509, or log on to the website mms-management.com. Talking Sports Live every Wednesday live at Full Moon Barbecue, 1935 Main Street. Come see Rob J, Jamie Horton, Larry Nixon, myself, and Ed Bishop. Uh, Talking sports with a bunch of flavor. And if you're not able to join us Wednesday, tune in to 35 Duluth Sunday nights at 10 p.m. After you watch the Commanders beat the Eagles this weekend, definitely tune in to Duluth 35 Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Again, thanking Full Moon Barbecue, the best little pork house in Mississippi, 1935 Main Street. If you definitely go there, make sure you place an order. Go in. Don't go in with your clean shirt. Don't go in with a shirt that you don't mind getting dirty, because you're gonna eat some of the barbecue and you may waste some. My first time having barbecue from there, guess what I did? I wasted on my shirt, and I sent Tim and his staff to bill and clean, so they did get it clean for me. So definitely go out there. But if you get a catering, 10 meals or more, 601-466-7713. Make sure you order some banana pudding, because that's a item that they don't make unless they have a catering, so they can make me some. So definitely give them a call at Caden, 10 or more meals. Monique's Dessert Boutique. Cakes, muffins, cupcakes, biscuits, all the other good stuff. Oh my. Monique's Dessert Boutique. Find her on Facebook as well as Instagram. Hillcrest Christian School, one family, one faith, and one future, 4060 South Sour Road in Jackson, Mississippi. Give them a call at 601-372-0149 to schedule a tour as well as testing to a small institution. If you want that one more hands-on institution, though, give them a call. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on within the school system, but some can learn better in a small environment, some can learn in a big environment. But if you're looking for that small environment, give Hillcrest Christian School a call. And Defining Moments with Larry Nix, tune in locally Thursday from on 104.3 FM at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, or tune in app at WPB 104.3, or Facebook live stream Defining Moments with Larry Nix. But back to Dr. Johnson. Now, Doc, I know
Mhm.
that you have many titles, that you wear many hats, especially being in the position that you're in right now. Let's dive right into it, to the men of today. Now, I know, as I said, you from a small town in North Mississippi, that brought you here to Jackson was a male figure that brought you here to enroll in one of the greatest institutions in the state of Mississippi, DI Love. What kept you here in Jackson?
Uh, well, as you just mentioned, I was lured here by my uncle. I had intentions on going to Kentucky State
Uh huh.
to play sports, but he convinced me that maybe I need to look at coming into the SWAC. So I came down here, met Coach Carson at the time. I was what's called a Prop 48. I couldn't play my freshman year, but Coach Carson said, "Look, if I come out there and prove myself, that he would give me a chance." So my sophomore year he held true to that, and sophomore that '97, and got injured in spring of '98. So uh, after that, I graduated and I started teaching. So teaching kind of kept me here. I got a chance to start in at Blackburn Middle School. So that's kind of how I got grounded in Jackson.
Now, I know being coming from a small town and coming to, I'm not saying a big city, but it is a big city compared to the different cities here in the state of Mississippi. What challenge did you face coming from that small community where everybody, as an old song, everybody knows your name, everybody knew everybody, transitioning to this big city?
Well, Holly Springs is not far from Memphis,
Uh huh.
so Jackson, believe it or not, was I looked at Jackson as being a small city because I was born in Memphis but raised
Okay.
in Holly Springs. So uh, to me, it seemed like here in Jackson, everybody knew everybody, and it felt like a smaller city. And I liked the fact that I could go somewhere and people knew who I was, or they knew somebody that I knew. So I didn't really feel like it was a disconnect from my smaller town of Holly Springs. Jackson was just at a larger scale than my small town, but like a small, large city. So I kind of felt like I was still at home.
Okay. Now, with coming from the small, well, Hollis Springs, and I said it's not too far from Memphis.
Mhm.
Do you see any difference compared to how Memphis? What Memphis is, you consider say a busy city.
Mhm.
They have a lot going on with the Southern Heritage Classic. What else?
Memphis Tigers,
The Memphis Tigers, the
Memphis Grizzlies.
Beale Street. Now they got the Memphis Grizzly. They had a semi-pro baseball team there. How was that different coming from all that business to coming to Jackson, where it's a little different?
Oh, it was slower because it's so much to do and so much trouble you can get into.
Uh-oh, you said the
So
key
uh,
word.
it was slower. Here also, religion was huge here in Jackson when I first got here. You know, the Mississippi Mass Choir,
Uh-huh.
and even while I was at Jackson State, you had Campus Crusade for Christ. You had a fellowship for Christian athletes. You had interfaith choir. You had a lot of things going on that for a young man coming from a small Baptist church, that was huge. I was like, okay, some things that young people can get involved in. So that was pretty key, I think, for me in helping me walk my walk in Christ.
Now, being a male, African American male, coming from a Baptist background, coming to this city where there's multiple different religions, as a young man and attending Jackson State, diverse of
I
things
did.
it come from, because you got people from all over the country coming to Jackson State. How did that make you feel coming from, again, from a Baptist background, a small community, coming to this campus, which is a community in itself, but you had a diverse culture?
Hmm. Well, I think if we look at my small church in Holly
Uh huh.
Springs, and then coming here to multiple options to go to different churches, that was a eye opener because it was like, it's almost like it was a church on every corner. And in my small town, it's not quite like that. You do have several churches, but a lot of the churches are in the cons was in the country. So so that was different. But I was raised a certain way, with certain principles and certain things that I believe. So, and I just didn't. My grandmother had did a great job. My mom did a great job. But you got to put your faith in the Lord. So I had certain principles and standards. So uh, I really didn't have any problem blending in with what I believed. And so that's pretty much how I went.
Now, with being a teenager, as well as growing up in the church, and you still had your friends
Hmm.
that weren't a part of the church.
Right.
Was that a struggle as a young man
Oh yeah.
growing up, no, trying to say, hey, I want to do right in the church because of my family, my grandmother, my mother, my other siblings,
Yeah.
my sisters, they're involved in church. And then I know I'm not finna step on my toe. This little pretty little young girl at church and stuff too.
Right.
But then I wanted to hang out with my teammates and my guys and do things of the world. How was that a struggle for you?
Well, believe it or not, I didn't. We went to a church that only met one Sunday out of the whole month.
Okay.
It was a big shock coming to Jackson where people went to church every Sunday.
Okay.
So I was used to one Sunday of the month that you went to. First Sunday you went to church, and other Sundays you could visit somebody at church,
Okay.
but you didn't have to go to church every Sunday. So so I didn't really have a struggle because hey, we had to go one Sunday, and I didn't always go that one Sunday. I might be with my friends, but in reality, my friends, their families were in church too, but we didn't always go to church that one Sunday.
Okay.
So that's the truth.
All right. Well, with that now, coming to the big city where they go to church every Sunday,
Yeah.
and you being a student, how was that transition? Did you see, especially so with your uncle being involved in the church, and
Yeah.
he was kind of one of the main reasons that brought you here,
It is.
and then like stated, you had to follow the guideline because he was more of the father figure here for you here. How was that adjustment for you?
Oh, it was big. It was big because I had at the time I had two big diamond earrings, and earrings were the thing, and I had like this big like silver necklace, like a dog change, and so that was my style. That was my thing. So, but I could. He didn't want me wearing it to church and stuff like that. So, it was a transition because you young, you in your feelings about trying to come up with your own identity of who
Yeah.
you are. Then somebody telling you, nah, you're not looking the part right now. So I had some frustrating days about that. Yeah.
And now, and your position again. This is a More on the Road with Bernard Moore, the third, presented to you by More and More Sportsman. We're talking with Reverend Dr. Michael Johnson of Child Missionary Baptist Church, 1925 West Pearl Street in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, with that, you see how you were growing up. I know that you listen, but you didn't want to listen. And now, as they say, karma, or some of the seasoned parents, they see, no, now you understand why we did what we did, and now you're getting a taste of your own medicine. You being a father, how does that make you feel? No, explain it to your children, and they kind of giving you back what you gave your parents or your guardian.
Well, I think one thing that's different. I'm listening more to them because I think my uncle didn't want to listen to me.
Now you know he gonna watch this
Yeah,
now.
that's fine. He knows that we've had didn't want to listen. That because of his age,
Okay.
and I was just coming down from and see. I was pretty I'm not saying I was super bad, but I was rough. I was a rough type of guy, roughneck. So it was a certain way that I carried myself, and so he would just didn't want respect for the household I was in because I stayed there over the summer and over some weekends.
Uh-huh.
So out of respect, because I was in his home, I went on and did what he asked me to do. But I did have conversations about it with him. I'm like, man, you wore certain stuff we use. So now on this side, my kids, they have their own flavor. And I just listen to it because I have girls and boys.
Yes.
So more so with my girls than with my boys. My boys kind of got old man spirit. But my girls are a little more like me. So I had to, okay, hey, just make sure, do it with class, just look your best with class. So, but to be honest with you, it's been a joy to be there to have those conversations with
Okay.
them.
Like I said, with you knew how you were raised, and you knew how somewhat of your parents were raised, and now you try to, well, and you've been around. And then when you became a parent, you're like you want to mix all this stuff in together to help raise your children. And some may say, "Hey, Dad, that's old school stuff. We don't do that right now." And like I said, you still got that not that old man mentality. But you just trying to teach them by the principles that you were brought up in.
Mhm.
Has that been a struggle, especially with today's generation and trends and fads and things along the line compared to how it was when we were coming up? Street light on, pew, we gotta get in the house.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna say it's been a struggle, but I can say that it's been some challenges
Mm.
because you know you trying to raise your children. You know, you want to build on how you was raised because those core principles got you where you are. Then you want to, just like you want your kids, you want them to take it a step higher. So trying to understand, certain songs and stuff that I got exposed to when I was young. So you trying to see how much of that can I show kids. You trying to balance that. And then, when they get of age, you say, "Dad, what about this song?" You're like, "Oh yeah, that one was you never played that for us." Well, no, I had to wait till you were a certain age. So having those conversations about why we did certain things. But it's to be honest with you, God, God knows it's been really beautiful because now that they're older, we can have conversations. It's been good.
Now, what you saying about the different exposures?
Mhm.
How early or how late or is it right to expose your child to different things in life? Because you can say some things that you were exposed to, like, man, I learned this at an early age,
Right.
but man, I learned this too late. Man, I wish I knew this soon. How early and how late is it, or is it just right to expose your children to different things?
Well, I think it's important because you want them to live in a bubble, and
Okay.
then when they walk out there, they're not ready for life. So, but just a lot of prayer. To be honest with you, because to be honest with you, in real parenting is an experiment. It's a trial and error. You like, oh, should I do that? I mean, nobody knows the right formula, right time. So, but you praying about it. You praying about it. Asking God. But at the same time, you were a child too.
Yeah.
So you like, well, they got to get experience. We can't just not let them do stuff because when they get out there on their own, they're gonna be like a fish out of water. So, but yeah, it's a lot of prayer, man. It's been trial and error.
Yeah, and as the word states, that train up a child in which you shall follow when they depart. That you hope that they still hold on to the principles that you've taught them.
Right.
How difficult now? I know that you have a couple of college students,
No, I have
and
four.
four. Oh, well, that's more than a couple.
Yeah.
Well, you had some college students, daughters, most of what is all your girls.
And my son is in college too.
Okay, well, oh
Yeah.
yeah, he did this. This is the freshman year.
No, this is sophomore year.
So
As a senior, he's in one of them dual
okay,
credit.
okay, okay. Well, hey, well, outstanding.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel as a parent? It's like, yes, I see fruits of my labor
Mhm.
that they are there.
How does it make me feel? It's
Yes.
still cautiously optimistic because life is, man. Life will throw you a curveball, and if you're not grounded on the right principles, you gotta, you could spin out. It could spin out of control. So cautiously optimistic that they're standing on their principles, knowing that life is gonna happen. You know, nobody can avoid life. Stuff gonna happen, but how do you deal with it? How do you bounce back? Where's your resilience? Where's your faith? What are your principles? That's what I'm hopeful that I can see when life started happening. I like to see them stand on those principles, and I think that will make me feel excited more than anything.
Yeah.
Not how much money they make, but okay, they still standing on the Lord principles.
Now, with that, now, like I said, you knew growing up how you were. Like I said, but you have more young ladies than men.
Mhm.
Growing up, you knew how you were and how the young ladies were, and how the guys were with certain young ladies. Are your knees rusted? Are your knees hurting?
No, no, because what I found out is easier. Honestly, it's been easier raising girls than boys.
Uh-huh.
Girls are very mature. They're very conversational. They're very wise and think early on, and so they have actually made me a better father for my boys.
Okay.
So No, man, my girls having girls was the greatest thing that could have happened to me because the conversations, the events that daddy and daughter dances and events like that, man, it's priceless.
Now, with that, are you preparing? You know how some researchers or some people say that as a father, you treat your daughter well and what her expectations should be in a man that she is seeking.
Mhm.
Are you instilling those principles in them, or you know, sometimes the girls are very reluctant of bringing a boyfriend that they really like around their father too soon, or what? Because as a male, you're very protective of your daughters, and you may do something to try to scare the guy off or to test him out to see, is he really true? Have you had that experience yet?
Well, trial and error with my first daughter, with my oldest daughter, when she, especially high school, I was kind of like that. But it's like I prayed about it. I said, I don't want to be that way because my mother wasn't that way with me. My mother was the father when my father wasn't there. She
Mhm.
taught me some things that's been priceless. So she never did that. So I can't say that I didn't have that issue with my first daughter, but because of her, I'm better. I'm like, nah, I can't be like that because at the same time, because if you what it looks like, the people that you don't like, they end up liking more.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. This is your life. You have to live your life. You have to make mistakes and learn from them too. So hey, just be wise, man. They'll tell you. I always say that. Just be wise, man. Make sure the person treating you right. You
Okay.
know.
All right. Now we talked about the family, know about your background. Now let's kind of get into something I know that you have a strong passion for, especially dealing with men.
Mhm.
Just like I stated earlier today when we had devotion back to the back. Like I said, we constantly. I came here just to drop something off and been having a show that our pastor put me to work, and
Mhm.
so and that's the thing. But when I accepted my call to be as a pastor or minister, one of yes, wisdom. Like I stated earlier, put yourself and circle yourself around that have a good mindset at where you're trying to go and there to support you. When I accepted my calling, I was talking with the former pastor here, associate pastor, Reverend Eric Brown, and we were going to a funeral. And he told me as we were driving, he said, "I always be ready."
Mhm.
And I'm looking at it and said, okay. He said, because the pastor may catch you one day, you come in and speak, think you finna share it. I mean, no, just sit down and hear the word and be taught to, he'll ask you to preach. So I always keep a sermon in your back pocket.
Mhm.
And I've learned that. And so that's what I've done. Like I said, I came to visit, they'll drop stuff, I help out. And they came in, hey, won't you share the word? Okay, let's go.
Mhm.
And when you're doing the will of God, that's how they say, always be ye ready.
Right.
Now, and I share one about with men today. A lot of men are gifted, they're talented, they have creative ideas. I was talking with another pastor and he said that as men we got to rechannel or redirect those gifts to glorify God. If you had a magic wand, Reverend Johnson, and you waved it, what would you do to help men to be men back in the community?
I would probably, you know, for me, I just always reflect on me how I feel like I'm continuing to grow into a better man.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I would probably encourage them to number one, like Paul said, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. So if I had a one, I would work on men, their language, how they speak, because our words have death and life in them. I would really talk to them more about, okay, be careful about, the words you use. Your words could tear people down or build people up. I would curse words, minimize that as much as you can. Find other words in your vocabulary to use. Listen more than you talk because as a child, you speak sometimes out of turn, but when you become an adult, you know when to speak, when to listen, and realize you need to listen more than you talk. Then I'll go to understanding. When you was a child, you understand the things a certain way, but now you're becoming a man. You need to look at things differently and understand that you can't lean to your own understanding. You got to acknowledge God in all your ways, and He'll show you what to do. Okay, His ways are better than yours. So your understanding, I will I would definitely weigh that one on their understanding. Then that third area is the way they think. When you're a child, you think self-centered. You limit on, what you want to do. You think you know the answer, But when you become an adult, when you realize that you got shortcomings, you got skills and talents, but you can't do everything right. You need some help. So your thinking becomes better. And you realize that, hey, it's not about me, it's about me helping somebody else. I'm putting somebody else first. Uh, I'm trying to do God's work. I'm trying to make sure my family is all right, my wife is all right, my kids are all right. So your thinking changes. So that's what I would do.
Now, with that, and like I said, we stated that it's the way that the men should go and way they should carry themselves.
Mhm.
But we still stuck in this macho era that in order for me to be the man, that I gotta walk around barbaric. I gotta curse people. I gotta curse everybody out. I can't let nobody do me wrong. I gotta be the person. I gotta be above everybody else instead of humbling themselves. As the word says, submit thyself unto the ways of thy Lord, instead of saying thinking about self. What is a personal statement that you can share to a man that's saying remove self out of the way all the time and don't think about others instead of self?
A personal statement that I could say to a man right now is that unless you trust in the Lord first, if you don't put him first, nothing else matters.
But the thing is, I hear you talking about God,
Mhm.
but God let my grandmother die.
Yeah.
She was a praying woman. God let my grandfather get killed. He was a praying man. My grandfather was just going to the store to get us a lunch. So why should I trust in God? But he let the people that helped me out, he took them out of my life.
Yeah. Well, the truth about it, nobody lives forever. I mean, so you're gonna die too. So, how we die
Uh-huh.
and when we die, nobody knows. So when you say God let them die, he gonna let you and I die too. But everything has to begin there. Everything, wisdom begins with recognizing and giving God reverence. It's just that's the beginning of life. You got to make sure God is first. So, uh, but that's that thinking again I was telling you about. Understanding, understanding that hey, my time is limited. I'm only here for a certain amount of time. Then it's over. What am I gonna do with my time? That's that understanding I was talking about. As a man, you start to realize, hey, I got to maximize every second, every minute. I don't know if tomorrow is going to be there, but I got now. So as you raising men and you raising your kids and you raising your daughters, you trying to help them get that understanding that, hey, tomorrow not promised now. You young, but it could be taken away. So do all you can today. So, but yeah, that's what I would tell them, because that was the principles I live by.
So now I think that I kind of felt that coaching
Yeah,
coming out of you a little bit,
yeah,
that sees the basically I almost saying seize the moment.
yeah.
As a former athlete and a coach, how do you and I know you've had your high school coach, your middle school coach. Then once you got to Jack State, you had some very encouraging coaches.
I
And
did.
then,
I
yeah,
did.
some very
Big C was one of
encouraging.
them.
How did you take their teaching to help you to develop the individual that you are today? Or you kind of look like, nah, I can't use that, 'cause boy, they did some things that
No,
I don't.
I use every one of them. From my very first coach, Coach Clark. Okay, suck it up and go. You know what I'm saying? That hey, sometimes hey, it's gonna get rough, but you gotta suck it up and go. To my coach, Coach Greer, who said, look, visualize yourself winning first before you do it. It's got to be in your mind. To Coach Carson, they said, hey, look, I can't say everything he was saying, but Coach Carson had a way of letting you know that hey, whether or not you were doing a good job or whether you're doing a bad job. I've seen him in the middle. We went out one time. We had our spats up a certain way against Grambling. He called everybody back in and said, "Take that stuff." But he had a command over us about a standard that we needed to carry ourselves. He gave us a story about the monkey who lost his tail. You know what I'm saying? Great message. Okay, about don't go out there and do something stupid over something that don't matter. and then Big C, his motivation, all of that embodies who I am today, as a father, as a director of education, all of that, man. So even as a minister, and I'm thinking about them.
But now with that, I know, like I said, I know both of the coaches, Coach Carson and as well Coach C. I've had my experience with them, especially Big C. We still converse a lot today,
Yeah.
and I got number of love for him.
Mm-hmm.
The encouraging words that he provided. Like I said, it's not in the most ethical way, but like you said, you have that understanding about what he means.
Yep.
Youth today, do you think some of the principles that those coaches instilled in you, how would they receive that message today?
Personally, I think they will receive it the same way I did, depending on who's delivering the message. If you're a person of value, if it's something that somebody they can look up to, because I deal with them every day. I deal with the roughest and the toughest in the whole state of Mississippi. And trust me, I talk to them just like I'm talking to you now, and they receive it. And how do I know that? They emulate me. They'll come around. This how you say it, doctor. And so I know it's resonating with them.
Yeah.
So I just think it's whoever's delivering the message. If you living it the best that you can, because none of us are perfect,
Yeah.
but you modeling it the best way you can, and they see it on a consistent basis, they'll receive it.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that also that allowed me to come down and speak to them. I really enjoy every third Sunday. I really enjoy. Now I know sometimes they may look at me and say that they don't care for the message, but like stated, I'm of one that if I'm gonna preach about, I gotta live it as well, because you can look at today's generation for those lost souls, those individuals that they are here, but they're not here. They're still seeking guidance and seeking direction. So we have to be that light where there's darkness. And I believe in myself. I tell him I have much faith and confidence in myself. Where there's trouble, I know when my presence comes, the Lord is going to help me with that. The Lord is going to help clear that up because of my presence, because of my faith and my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't say that you may feel that same way, but do you think that that's good, though, that you have to live by the way that you speak?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You want to be as transparent too. You don't want to present yourself as being a perfect person when you're not. You want to be. I think it speaks even more volume when you are just being authentic about who you are, and don't always say the right words, and you know how to say, I'm sorry about that. But sometimes those words you need to say in certain situations. But just being authentic in front of those kids, you'll win them over. So yeah, definitely you want to definitely walk the walk as well as talk it.
Now, with that, what is some ways that you have as reaching the youth today? Because, like I said, they are eager to learn. From what I've seen, that they're eager to learn, but it's how you present it and how they receive it, as well can they utilize it. Instead of saying that, like we said earlier, these are my partners. I can't let them see that I'm come talk to Dr. Johnson about life. He giving me some positive things. What can we do to really encourage you to be receptive of what is going on today to better themselves for the future?
Well, as I said, with my own house, I'm listening. You have to listen, and because they go through stuff too, and just trying to get away from a lot. Me, I'm just talking about me. Where, hey, this is how I did when I was, but we're doing it like this now, Dad. I'm like, okay, well, show me how y'all doing it. And I said, okay. Then most of the time, the way they're doing is pretty much the same way. It's just presenting it, because nothing is new under the sun.
Correct.
But for them, they remember that understanding. They understand as a child, so they thinking that, hey, this is fresh and brand new. But I'm an adult, so I have to say, okay, let me see what you're doing. Oh, okay. That's the butterfly. They did the butterfly back in our day. I mean, there's no different than the butterfly. Oh, they doing that? Oh man, they ain't nothing but the snake. So so you see what I'm saying? It's but for their understanding, they're thinking as a child, which they supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I'm the adult. I have to listen and say, okay, all right, I got what you're saying. Some stuff be fresh new ideas that I'm like, okay, yeah, that is different. But generally, a lot of it is something we've done or somebody did before us.
Yeah, and I know, like I said, I know we just had some kind of interruption. I said those are youth here at the church. They're
Right.
getting ready for the Black
Program.
Christian program that we're presenting this upcoming next week. Actually, yeah, next week. What is something that we can definitely do to get the more youth more involved back at the church? Like we
Yeah.
stated earlier, that in your hometown you had very few churches, but once you came to Jackson, there's a church on every corner. But the youth are not involved in that. The youth are involved in the community because, like I said, you see a lot of you work with some of the worst in the state, and me working within Hines County, I see a lot of youth going in the wrong direction. What is something that we can get the youth, for one thing, back involved into church, as well as back involved in school, as well as just doing something positive in the community? I said you don't have to come to the church physical building itself. What is something that we can do as men, as well as ladies, as well, can do involved to get the youth back involved in those different things: church, the community, and education?
First, I think it begins with your household. If you have youth in your household, that you're listening to them, you're involved in their life, you're getting them involved in things in the church. Okay. Why it begins with you? Because other people are watching what's happening in you. Whether you like it or not, we all are being watched.
Yes.
You are a light. We are the salt of the world. So you model it first. Then from there, okay, once they see you doing it, it's like a train reaction. That okay, because people are more got his sons in this. Okay, we gotta get my son. So now that puts generally that's gonna put a little pressure on that parent, and especially if that
Yeah.
child is liking what your sons are doing, they're gonna say, "Hey man, hey, Kate and them, they doing something I want to do." So now that's a good peer pressure. It's
Yeah.
putting pressure on them to get involved. So yeah, I think it starts with you. You model it with you because that's the only thing you really control is you, and you're hopeful that you can inspire others by what you're doing.
Yeah. And with that, like I said, I know kids. They talk, they communicate. They're on the social media, they texting. I understand that a lot of kids don't even call and talk on the phone anymore. They texting, or they are on social media messaging, all that type of stuff. Like when we had when we had the pages, we paid somebody to put a few words in there, and they understand. Okay, that's what that is. What is something that we can definitely help control our youth with today's technology, because they have access to the world, and they sit right here in Jackson. They have access to stuff in China. They have access to stuff in Antarctica, but they're right here in Jackson. What is something that we can definitely do to help our youth to utilize that technology for the greater good, to help them to be better individuals in the community?
That's a loaded question as relates to what can we do. Uh, One thing you can do, but we don't know if it's going to be effective.
Uh,
You can take the technology, but if you take it, then you're going to have a consequence behind it. Your child may become more rebellious as a result of it. So I'm going back to what I said before. It's trial and error. So you got to pray and say, okay, Lord, show us what we can do here. One of the things we do with our kids, my own kids, they didn't get phones and cell phones until high school. That was a choice we made because I didn't see a point. To be honest with you, high school came about because they was in after school events a lot.
Yeah.
Middle school, we were still picking them up in after school event, but once they got in high school, stayed a little bit later. So say hey, they need a cell phone. So, but even with that, they still had iPads and the internet access. So we didn't just totally take them away from technology. They just didn't have a cell phone. So all you can do is try to educate them on the dangers, the pitfalls, keep them in events and educating youth about the dangers of the internet, and hope they make great decisions. Because the reality is, you're not watching what they're doing all the time.
Yeah.
And you can put safety things on your internet service, but they're creative. They know how to get around them. That's just being real.
Yeah.
So just trying to educate them, and so they'll know that the devil is after them too. So just be careful, but bringing them into church, teaching them the right principles, and praying that they stand on them. That's all you can do. And when they make the mistakes, be like, hey, bounce back. Hey, get off that, man. Stay away from that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to make them. So, but that's about all I could say to that. But it's trial and error and prayer, man.
As a church leader, what are some creative ways that we can get the children back involved in the church? I know, like I said, we have children's church here. We have the youth involved with ushering. We have the youth involved in doing devotion. What is something more that we can be if creative, something that we can do more church? Because I know as a youth, you didn't grow up and saying, "Hey, I want to be a pastor." You didn't grow up saying, "Hey, I want to be a church leader." You grew up saying, "I want to be," as the comments say, a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman, a professional athlete, all that stuff, or a teacher, whatever. I can rarely say that I've heard children at an early age say, "Hey, I want to be a pastor. I want to be a leader of a church. I want to be involved in a church." Again, what is something that we can use that create to get our children back involved in church and taking on leadership positions?
Well, let's talk about two sets of children. The children that's already in the church with their parents. We can create programs like we have that, like the mime team, the praise dance, like Black Voices, like youth church, that keep those kids interested in the things that's happening, like technology, you know, getting involved in choir, you know, things like that, giving them some auxiliaries, taking them trips. We go to the NBA game, you know, taking them to summer trips, DC, you know, that we do as a church. The kids in the church will value that, and then we celebrate our kids when they do well on 9 weeks exam. When they graduate, we have a gift for them. We recognize them with awards. The kids that's in the church will appreciate that because they realize the people who are in the church really value them.
Yes.
They're putting them on those ministries. Now, the kids that are not in church, that are in, and that's a lot of them, that are in the neighborhoods, they're in the houses. That's mainly on parents, the parents that's raising those kids. Well, through outreach, through events that we get involved with, partnerships in schools, through Jackson State, when they see those churches more visible, they can ask questions. What they can see, what are they doing at that church? So over there, let me walk over there without doing trick or treat. I can go over there. Then when they come up on over, that'll draw interest. Got to be honest with you, I went to church one Sunday. Went to a Kojic church, okay, and they had so many activities going on. So in the used to have youth revival, tent revival. I would go with him because it was gonna be food, there was gonna be some events going on, movies being shown. So they had a lot to draw you in. And even though I didn't, and other people, because we lived in the projects, other youth were coming. So it was a lot that the church was doing to draw us in, even if our parents weren't. I think we could take a lead that way.
Yeah, and also
I had
with
to take this call. I
okay.
think this is probably my wife.
All right. Well, again, we're talking with Dr. Johnson. We're talking with Dr. Johnson. As I said, we're talking about some things that we can definitely do to definitely help improve with our youth as well as what is going on in the community. I said it's very interesting information that grow because our community is dying and is like it's more of our seasoned saints are getting older and like I said, we're all gonna die when they go home a little early, but it's leaving the community to our youth. And it seems like our youth are going into the direction in which we're not aware in which they're going in. And it seemed like there is playing a hindrance on us right now. But we got to find something to reach our youth. Like I said, you may hear some noise back there in the background. Like I said, we're getting ready for our Black History program and Martin Luther King program as well. But that is the mission and the will, the service that God instilled in our pastor. Now, even though, like I said, some of us may get tired of hearing cause, and some people, even like he stated, some people told him that he's doing too much. If he's doing the will of God, as the old song says, sign me up for the Christian Jubilee. Right. My name on the road. Now, I'm not a singer, so don't think that I'm going to sit and sing. Now, Reverend Johnson, before we get out here, what is something that we can do outside the church to draw our youth to doing something? Paul, like I said, you don't have to be in the church.
Right.
But what is something that we can do outside the church? Because Everybody knows that the most famous scripture of the word, John 3:16.
Mhm.
But what they don't want to be in the church. It takes away their coolness. It takes away their street cred can do. We're gonna sit church to the side right now.
Mhm.
We're not gonna speak religion. We're not gonna add God into it, but we know God is involved.
Right.
But what can we do to bring the youth back into being productive individuals in the community?
Well, that I think first of all, there are so many opportunities in every community where youth could get involved, from summer to like rec basketball, rec flag football. Uh, when we have community service, we cleaning, walking the streets, picking up paper. When we have here in Jackson, we have the marathon run. We have the walk for here at Jackson State, Tasha Norman. These are opportunities to bring our youth in. Then we have schools in every community. You can go to school and be mentors. Just walk the halls, showing up on Donuts for Dad's Day, even if you don't have a child there. You can go to. It's just opportunities where men could step in, doing basketball, football games. Your presence there. Can you imagine how it would look at a JPS football or basketball game? And it's not your child out there playing, but you showing a force of support that we know, because fight breaks out. But there's enough men here, other than the police. Uh, can you imagine 100 black, swimming events? We show up in numbers and showing support. This had nothing to do with church, but our very presence, the way we speak, because I'm going back to when we speak, okay, the tone was not super high pitched. I'm sorry, it has deep, it's that bass in it. It has volume. It's rich when we're speaking somewhere. So just showing up in places like schools, sporting events, community events that's happening around the community. I think men can make a lot of noise in a positive way that way.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point. Now I just heard a report last night that happened at a basketball game at a school here in Jackson. I'm not gonna stay because I don't want them to come back and say no, that's false information. But something happened, or I was informed that something happened at a school with the president of positive men that's out for the greater good of the community, not for self.
Mhm.
The president of the school system. There's a lot of red tape sometimes that we have to go through. Just come there, just show presence. Because educator, working in the community, sometimes I just like to go visit some old teachers or old principals I work with around the school. Now, depends on what I'm dressed in, I get received different. But I don't want to be walked in with those particular weapons of the world. I want to walk in with the weapons of the Holy Spirit, the whole armor of God. I'm not finna run like the Roman soldiers walk around with the shield and the big sword. I'm walking in with the weapons of the Holy Spirit, but walking in with the weapons of the world, again, we'll receive that we can do as men that want to do that, walking in weapons of the Spirit instead of the weapons of the world.
But if you're talking about in the school systems, there are calls as relates. Most schools have what's called a volunteer list. Most
Yes.
school districts, you have to do background checks, and once you get that clear, then whatever those schools, then it now depends on those schools' principals,
Yeah.
how welcoming those principals are to having volunteers inside their school. So, but most schools will want to have the presence of men who've been cleared to come in. Of course, we live in a society now because of school shootings. There's a lot more, regulations, checks, and things of
Yes.
that, because you don't want to just let anybody in. But most schools still want to have volunteers, and they want to have men to come in and most of the people who clear the background checks these are good men coming in anyway. So, but I see that is an opportunity for men to join up on as a team. Like, you could pick a school. Like, I'm just going to go back to what you're saying, the fight that was at that particular school. Fights have been happening after basketball games as long as I can remember.
Yes.
You know, because I may have been involved in a couple myself, you know. But so that's not uncommon. It's not like we don't know those things happen. So, but especially if it's a big rivalry game, this stuff been happening for years. So it's not. Let's not take a fight as being something that's uncommon. This happens now. But I think if we showed up at some of them rivalry games and they see, man, what's all these men here other than police, and we all dressed like, okay. And after the game, we already know where the fights are gonna happen. You know, if everybody gather up together, you already know something about to happen. And so, but when they see us in the presence in groups, like, oh, hey guys, y'all need to keep moving. You know, keep moving. Okay, game over with. I'm glad y'all enjoy. As a collective body doing that, that's gonna send volumes because it's a rivalry game. We know something might pop out. We need to show up at that game in numbers. So I think if there was a collective effort to do certain things like that, that would minimize that. Because one thing about presence is it speaks volumes without even saying a word. We come in there dressed together. They see us as a team to support whatever that event is. The trouble gonna go away on its own.
What's in DR? I really do appreciate joining me this Saturday. Now I know Pastor gonna get us talking now.
Exactly.
I think they're working on the Black Voices, but in closing, your closing to share with youth and men to make a go for it.
In closing to the youth, look, we love you. Number one, we were young ourselves. We want you to enjoy being young. Don't be in a rush to grow up because ain't nothing ahead but bills. So be young as long as you can, man. We love you. We're proud of you. And we realize this, some of you all, because I come from that, you need a little bit more support. We want to do a better job in supporting you and becoming who you want to be. To the men out there, those three things that I'm working on: speaking, understanding, and thinking. I want to continue to grow in speaking and listening more than I talk. I want to improve my understanding on things. And not lean to my own understanding, but trust in God. And finally, I want to change my thinking. I want to look at stuff differently. And I think if we grow and mature in those areas as men, then we can make a difference in any community that we're in.
Well, DR, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me, man. But we definitely got to do this again. Now I'm gonna see if I can squeeze the pass up out here. If he's not working, get him out here because I definitely like to talk to him about him and his great story from the great city of Louise, Mississippi, as he state. But again, we definitely want to close out. I said I want to give thanks to More and More Sports Management for helping us put this stuff together. Again, yes, I am the founder. For more information with contract negotiation, planning, all that good stuff, check us out at mms-management.com. Thank you again to ESPN Talking Sports Live, Jamie Horton, Larry Nix, and myself. Join us every Wednesday at Full Moon Barbecue in Madison, Mississippi, or tune in 35 Duluth Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Again, Best Little Porkhouse in Mississippi, 1935 Main Street, Madison, Mississippi. You can call the place your order 01-853-1712. If you got more meals you want catering, contact them at 601-466-7713. Let them know you heard it on More on the Road, and they may throw you a set of cookies. There's some good cookies, chocolate on and some type of oat stuff on the other side. I don't know what it. Monique's Dessert Boutique, cakes, cupcake, cookies. Oh my! Look up on Facebook as well as Instagram. Purple Velvet Bakery at yahoo.com. Hillcrest Christian School, one family, one faith, and one future. 4060 South Sour Road in Jackson, Mississippi. Give them a call at 601-372-0149 to schedule a tour and testing. And Defining Moments with Larry Nix on 104.3 FM, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time every Thursday, or tune in app at WPBP 104.3, or live stream on Facebook at Defining Moments with Larry Nix. Again, I appreciate you guys for joining us, as well as the DR, Dr. Reverend Michael Johnson. Finna definitely go have some fun here. Much love to you guys. See you guys when I